Hi everyone, Melissa from Melissa vs. Fibromyalgia here. I hope you're well. Let's talk 3 weeks post-op, how I'm doing after my endometriosis excision and hysterectomy surgery. I did it laparoscopically, which makes a difference. I don't think I say that often enough, but I had surgery 3 weeks ago with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome. It's been a bit of a whirlwind. So the first week was rough. I told you about it. I'll put the video up so that you can catch it. It was crazy. Preparing for surgery, not being sure if I was going to get the surgery because my kids were sick and I didn't know if I was going to get sick. And then actually having the surgery and then waking up and realizing that the low-dose naltrexone hadn't quite cleared off my receptors. And so the medicine didn't work. And a whole lot of fun ensued there. The second day I went into urinary retention, so they tried to take out the catheter, but nothing worked, nothing happened. It was a terrible, terrible morning of trying so hard to go to the toilet and I could not. So they put the catheter back in, but the next day it came out and everything was good. My heart rate got a little bit low, so my blood pressure is always low. It got lower after the surgery, so they were having to monitor that, and my heart rate does this thing where it goes too high, and so the gap seems to make me feel yuck. So for the last week, that's actually been a big deal for me. So I'm up and about now, and I'm mobilizing easier, and I'm using less rest to activity ratios. And I'm starting to do what I can do without any kind of twisting or lifting or bending, and just trying to get back into life as much as I can. But the two things, the main thing is it's the fatigue. So the fatigue is the big issue here. So because I'm so fatigued, my heart is having trouble keeping up. So I can be very gently wandering in my lounge. I could be standing and folding clothes with everything, at the right length, so I'm not bending or twisting or anything, and all of a sudden my heart rate will shoot up. It will go beyond what my normal exercise, so I have a maximum heart rate for my exercise which kind of guides me, or when I was pre-surgery. 130 was too high. If it went to 130, I was going to feel wiped out, yuck, possibly feel like I was going to faint in a minute, and be very fatigued afterwards. It was best for me to keep my heart rate in the 120 for exercise. And it keeps kind of going beyond that. So what will happen is I'll notice that I start to feel yuck and like a little bit unwell, and like someone has just ripped away the color and the life from me. And then I'll look at my Fitbit and see, oh my gosh, and my heart rate will go shoop. And so then I have to sit down or lie down and do my controlled breathing. So my controlled breathing has really saved me this whole time. I'm so thankful that I have got excellent training in my breath work. And then it will slowly come down, but sometimes it takes a while to come down, and I've got to be really mindful, because if I'm not careful, then I start to get the spots and it starts to feel like I'm going to faint, and then once it's gone to that point, then it's going to take longer to kind of pull it back. So that's been really interesting because I am historically terrible at knowing what's normal and what's okay and listening to my body. And the weird thing is, at the moment, that the only thing telling me, like that only warning sign I have is feeling yuck and then realizing that my heart rate is rising. So that's a little bit disconcerting, but we're working on it, and I'm trying to be really careful. So yeah, we've done really well, I think, with keeping help with the 4 children. So I've got 4 children from 2 to 9 years old. For the first week, all of them were at my in-laws, bless their hearts. For the second week, the little 2 were at their house, because the little 2 don't understand, and they would have needed me to help them, and they would have climbed on me. So they stayed there. And then the third week, surgery, week home, kind of second week, it gets a bit confusing. But anyway, for the third week, in terms of childcare purposes, my husband was home. He took a week of leave, and so he was home with the kids, but obviously the kids were here with me. I overdid it, definitely trying to help, so I had to really pull it back. So yeah, it's been really interesting trying to figure out the kids. This week, so yesterday and today, my husband stayed home to work from home so that he could take the kids to school and kindy, because I'm not driving yet. And even if I could drive, being able to get 4 boys ready and out the door and in the car and then go in and out of the car, I think that would be too much, way too much. So thankful for that. And then my mum is coming to stay for the next week or so. And it's just those pressure points of the morning and the afternoon, because we have a lot of extracurricular activities as well. So Tuesday is actually the only day of the week we don't have extracurricular activities. So every afternoon, my husband's out running people around, and I'm stuck here with children to bathe and feed and all that stuff, which is a bit hard when you're recovering from surgery. But I feel like things are going well. It's really weird. It's a really in the middle time. So having no period obviously is immediately helpful. So I was marveling at 1 week post-op that I was in less pain than I would have been if my period had come, because that was when my period was due. So that's pretty amazing. And no period means no blood loss. And I've always had very heavy periods, and like my iron levels have always hovered at the very bottom. And so there's a very large range for you, like for your ferritin, there is a very large range. And for a long, long time, they would say my normal, but it was actually the absolute bottom of a very long range. And optimal is kind of in the middle. But for a lot of time over the last few years, it's been at the bottom, like below normal, to the point where we got to the point last year where I was going back for blood tests every month or two, because they'd be like, oh, you're a couple of points above being able to have an infusion, so maybe next month it will have dropped low enough. And it never dropped low enough. Surprisingly, I fixed that by really upping my meat intake, so I managed to fix that myself. But now there is no blood loss, so hopefully that will get up, because iron levels really help with your fatigue and energy and sleep. I notice when my iron levels are tanked, it is very hard to sleep no matter how tired you are. So hopefully that will help. I'm not doing, so they say they want you to be exercising. I haven't actually left like the house for a walk yet. So I live up a very steep driveway. We've had a lot of bad weather. But what I've been doing is slowly increasing my steps, and including outside. So I go out and walk across my backyard, and I'm up to, my aim at the moment is 4,000 steps a day. So I very slowly built it up. So nowhere near what they recommend when you have your surgery. And I think that's something to be really mindful of when that they're giving you those guidelines of how you should be returning to movement. Remember, that's for normal people. And even like, I've been watching a lot of videos. The reason I'm making this series is because I watch videos and you see most people just bounce back like that, right? Like they have no other kind of historical conditions or symptoms, and it doesn't give us kind of a realistic thing of what it might look like for us. There is one I've been watching which has been wonderful, and they kind of have explained, they've had a similar experience, and it really did take up to a year to start to feel more normal and to let your body kind of untangle everything that's been happening. I mean, we don't have pathology results or anything, but I feel like there must be something wrong with my uterus, that in the last year it just suddenly went shoom. Like after my fourth kid, everything got so bad. Like my periods were terrible, like really bad, and cramping intensely to the point where it really felt like I was giving birth each month. So I feel like that being out of my body is helpful. Getting the endometriosis out of my body, that's like poison. The inflammation clearing up and going away because the endo is gone. All of that stuff will need my body to reset. Plus, losing the uterus is a part of the hormone situation. So keeping the ovaries keeps your hormones intact, but it's all a system, right? So if you take a part of the system, it's got to readjust. So as we readjust, we're going to see a lot of change. And it's very hard for me not to kind of go, I wonder what it's going to be like and which symptoms will be gone. So I'm trying not to think of that. The main thing that has been left though is like low back and pelvis pain. So my low back and my hips have been really uncomfortable. And I don't know if that is because it's less movement. Like I'm doing very gentle pelvic tilts and cat and cow pose, and I'm doing my steps, but I'm used to doing yoga. I do it gently, but I'm used to doing it and moving it. So I don't know if it's because of that or because it was flared up. Back pain was a big feature of my pain. So I got it before my period, during my period, for a little while after my period. It would like taper off during my ovulation. So there wasn't much of the month where it wasn't there. And the back pain was a major feature. So I don't know if if it needs to resettle or if I need to do some retraining. I definitely need to do some retraining. My body's lived in so much pain for so long, but yeah, my lower back is working on figuring itself out. And also I have to, like, as I get better and I'm trying to do things, like I'm trying to reach something, because I can't squat because of my knees, and I can't bend either. It makes it really awkward for reaching things, but I'm getting to a point where I'm frustrated, and so I'm kind of doing awkward moves, trying to reach stuff, and that's not a good thing either. It's patience. Like, if I could give myself a word to focus on, it would have to be patience. But all in all, week 3 is looking good, and with all the help in place, I'm doing well. Just that fatigue is really high, but I've kept the same routine. So my rest to activity ratio might be different at the moment, but I have 1 rest in the afternoon, my full stop rest break, my yoga nidra rest break. And I go to bed at the same time, get up at the same time. So I've kept that routine solid the whole time. So at least I don't have to kind of retrain any of that stuff, because I didn't want to. That it's hard enough for me to get that rest. Like, something comes up almost every single weekend, almost every single day, to try and interrupt that, but it is so important to me. I need to keep it, and so I don't want that rhythm gone. So yeah, the next steps for me will be, I will be trying to increase my steps slowly as I can. I'm listening to my body, so when my heart rate says no, then I just don't do it. But I'm fired up with ideas. Like, I'm so excited, and I have things to share, and I'm like remembering, oh yeah, here's some good things to help when your fatigue is really high, and here's how to do yoga when you can't really move, and I just have so many ideas and videos and blog posts. So yeah, it's tricky turning my brain off now that it's back, but brain fog is a thing too. The memory is struggling a little bit because a lot has happened. 3 weeks post-op is a big thing. Let alone having fibromyalgia, so trying to remember that. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions, if there's anything I haven't answered, or anything you want to know when I do like a more tidy kind of roundup of the whole story. Let me know in the comments, and if you've also had this experience, could you share what you're willing to share, just so that other people can know, because it is such an unknown for us and we need that information out there. Thank you very much for that, and I'll catch you again soon.